yourself really quick.
Sure. Yeah, I'm David Mcdougal. I'm a personal trainer here at the Y in Oshkosh. Specialize mostly in strength training. So.
Okay. I'm gonna start off right away with just a quick background and education. I want to ask you what motivated you to become a physical trainer.
Sure. So I've done a lot of different things throughout my life. I kind of came to fitness a little bit later as far as a structured thing. So I started in group fit. Is kind of where I started to move towards personal training. So I taught group fitness classes and then got certifications in a bunch of different things with personal training, and then moved towards that personal training aspect. And again, a big part of it is that the strength part of it being so important for longevity and aging and health and everything. So.
All right, and then what education, certifications, or specialized training have you completed?
Sure, I have a master's in science, but it wasn't specializing in personal training or fitness.
Okay.
So my fitness related, I have ACE, American Center of Exercise, I think is what the ACE stands for. It's a personal training certification. I have group fit certification through them, and then also health coach certification with them. I've done other certification stuff with like Spartan race, like doing a Spartan race, like it's obstacle course racing. So I have a certification with them. I've done Mark Ripato's starting strength. So I did a certification with them, like an online and an in-person thing with them, which is some like powerlifting type certification. And I'm working now, I'm doing another one that's, it's Menno Henselman. He's out of Europe, and it's another personal training certification thing that I just started now to do this year, so for continuing education.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a lot of certifications for this type of stuff, yeah.
How do you, how important are continuing education and staying updated on fitness research in your field?
Sure.
Like, how is important, like keeping up to date with like the fitness industry?
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's stuff that's always changing, right? Like, our knowledge of science isn't something where it's just like something in stone, right?
Yeah.
Like, science is something like our best guess at stuff, like, right? So, so we're getting better and better at knowing what works better and better. So yeah, I think it's very important. Some of the continuing education, like there's, for the certifications, you have to like get recertified with continuing education. And some of the stuff in there isn't necessarily the latest in research. It's just like, oh, how should you talk to people, or, stuff like that. That's important. But the science aspect of it, you kind of have to seek out yourself for a lot of it, like look at papers or look at other people that are kind of consolidating that research, right? So,
like there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So I do think it's very important.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that is more recent, right? Like in the research that comes out. So, and I like to share that with the clients and stuff like that. So,
how do they respond to that? Like,
pretty well, yeah. So it's a lot of stuff where it's like, oh, like that's actually, this works better, like, and they're like, oh yeah, I can see why this works better, right? Like than something else. And again, some of that stuff is research, like the stuff that's more recent, but then it's stuff that's like not as well known, like misconceptions that a lot of people have, right? Like the difference between cardiovascular training and strength training, why like strength training is an important aspect and what it can do for you, right? So there's a lot of stuff of that people don't necessarily know, that you can think of, well, that's continuing education, but it's stuff that's maybe like research is known for a while, but the industry or the population kind of is 10 years behind research typically, something like that. So
okay. I'm gonna move on to like your daily work life. I'm just gonna ask you to walk me through what a typical day here looks like for you.
Sure. Yeah, so I work part-time. And so my only responsibilities are as a personal trainer. A lot of people in this industry that do personal training have other job responsibilities. could be like maintenance of the facility or things like that too, right? Or management of different aspects. So I'm just a personal trainer, so that's all I basically do.
Okay.
So it's working with clients basically. So I'll come in and work with clients, like we'll schedule. So the aspects outside of the working with clients. So like I'll work with clients, I record like their particular different exercises that we do and the weights and stuff like that, rep ranges, set ranges and stuff like that. And then the outside of that, there's like the administration part, right, is like texting or calling or like communicating with the clients to schedule stuff. And then there is the aspect of redemptions. So here at the Y, they'll buy like sessions. They'll buy like different groups of sessions for however many sessions they buy, and then I have to redeem them afterwards. So say they do like a half an hour, then I have to redeem 2 15-minute sessions in the system.
Okay.
So there's like basic logistics stuff that I have to take care of with that. And then some of it's like planning for clients, right? Like I did that more so when I was earlier in my career of this. Like for now, I know like I can do things much more on the fly, so to speak, and be more adaptive to clients. And I think there are certain things that I kind of have a system where it's like, well, when somebody's starting, these are the types of things that we need to work on. These are the types of things as they progress, like what we need to alter and change. And so some trainers maybe have an aspect of like, oh, we're just going to do a big variety of different things with clients, where I kind of like have the mindset of like, well, we need to kind of constrain this down. I like to work on compound lifts, especially when people start out. They're the most efficient way of training. Get them stronger, and then if they have other goals or things like that, then we can address those different goals. Like, oh, I really want, to work on my bench press. I have some clients that are like, oh, I really want to get a bigger bench. So we work on that as a particular goal. Or if they have cardio goals, that's something that we can address. But most people can get cardio a lot easier. Like it's not as big of a, like most people know how to run around, or jump around and get cardio. Whereas strength training is a much bigger thing that you have to be taught more. So
you're more of the individual based needs. You really focus on like what they want out of like this training, or
yeah. So it's what I do mostly one-on-one training. I do a couple group training sessions with a couple different people at once. I do teach one group fitness class still. Like I said, I started there, but I kind of worked my way away from that for the most part. But I do teach one training class that has multiple people in it. But yeah, I kind of push towards convincing people about the importance of strength training. Because some people come in and just like, I need to train. I don't know. My doctor told me I need to exercise, right? And so I will kind of educate them like through an onboarding process, where we'll sit down and talk about all this stuff, and I'll kind of guide them towards that strength training aspect, just because it shows so much benefit to that versus the cardio, right? Like if you're just running around, like a lot of people will have aches and pains. A lot of people that come in that are runners and they're like, I'm 60 years old, I'm a runner, like what's going on? I don't feel good. It's like, well, because you haven't trained ever, right? Like you never trained in strength. Or there's people that will come in and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing in here. I'll do a whole bunch of reps on something. And it's like, well, we need to talk about like the intensity that you need to put forth for each of these sets and stuff like that. So there's lots of different aspects of it. And that's kind of what I kind of guide people towards, is that strength training aspect. So.
Okay. How do you, or what are your like strategies for motivating clients who are struggling with motivation?
Sure. Yeah. Like I tell a lot of clients, like there's motivation when they first start. A lot of times people are motivated, right? And it's really having that dedication versus motivation, right? Because there's going to be times when everybody's like, I'm not motivated to come in here and do this today, right? But I'm dedicated, so this is kind of where we're going to be. So it's trying to get them into the habit, right? Like, so it's about getting that long-term habit. So it's never about being a hero one day, right? Like it's about finding that consistency over time, and once it becomes habitual, then it's not as much about the motivation as it is like, this is part of me and part of my personality, right? Like having it, like the clients that do the best with all this is ones that like take it on and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna master this move, right? Like it's people that kind of want to take this as like, yeah, I'm gonna like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna like do this as well as I can, right? Like I want to do this well. and that's kind of like getting people into that mindset of kind of owning it, right? Like, because they have to own it, because it's not. Again, as a personal trainer, like I've had other trainers that say that they never want to do personal training because it takes so much energy to be personal, like one-on-one training. But again, it's finding that like that ability to have them not just be like yelling at them to motivate them, right? Like it's a matter of like meeting them kind of where they are with everything, and then progressing them over time. And then again, with the strength training aspect, a lot of it's like, yeah, you just PR'd today, you know, like we're gonna PR, like we're gonna keep increasing, and then they can see those like goals going up and up and up, right? Like they get stronger and stronger. And the way I train people, like it's almost guaranteed you're gonna get stronger, especially if you're detrained. Like if you haven't trained before, like everybody gets stronger doing compound lifts. Like so just seeing those numbers go up over time, I think, is motivating. And then it's trying to reach that point where when they start to plateau, hoping that they have that habitual behavior at that point, right? Where they're just like, well, it's not as motivating because, you know, my dings aren't going up all the time now, but I still like enjoy doing this, right? Like, and then it gets to the point where it's just like, oh, if I miss this, then I don't feel as good, right? Or they start to notice that in life, where they're like, yeah, I feel better when I do this. So
that's awesome. What approaches do you use if someone doesn't see their expected results, or they're not happy with where they are?
Sure. We kind of have to look at what the situation is, right? So all the different lifts, you can plateau at different times, right? And some people can plateau really quickly, right, on some of the different lifts. And then we'll kind of address like, well, what's going on, you know, like, because most people should be able to keep increasing their weight for a decent amount of time to get like the newbie gains, right, they call them. So if that's not happening, then we try to address like, well, what's going on? Are you not resting in between your sets? Is there not enough protein in your diet, right? That can be a big thing that we address. Sleep, if you're not sleeping, right? If you have a lot of stress somewhere else in life, that again, that kind of starts to affect your diet and exercise and sleep patterns. Like, so all these things are go together, right? Yeah. So if you're not seeing progress and you're doing, you know, the program where you're increasing over time, like it can be some of these other factors, right, that are going on, where it's just like, I had somebody that, you know, like after working just a couple months, like he started to plateau and he's like, I just can't lift anymore. I'm like, you know, you probably shouldn't be plateauing yet on this particular move. And I'm like, let's talk about your protein. And he's like a 210 to 20 pound guy. And I'm like, how much protein are you getting in? And he's like, well, how much is in a quarter pounder of meat? I'm like, he looked it up in about 30 grams, right? And I'm like, you need more than 30 grams a day. Yeah. And that's what he was getting. And we saw, like, I'm like, he's like, okay, like, I'll get my protein up, right? Like, and then we saw him start to increase again, right? So it's trying to look for some of those limiting factors, right? And like, if I see people come in and we'll talk about sleep, and they're like, yeah, I get like 3-4 hours of sleep a night. I'm like, if you see, you're gonna have a hard time seeing progress on 3 hours of sleep, right? Like, nobody can do that. So we need to address some of those other things that aren't just like, you know, form or, you know, stuff in the gym or your program has to adapt to what is going on in your life too. So
it's really just going down the checklist, seeing that everything is balancing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
A little bit on, like, I'm interested at the why, or I don't know how it works here, but how do you find new clients?
Sure. Yeah, that can be a challenge, right? The why. So for my position, the why, like, people will come into the why, you know, as a member, you can get, like, it's cheaper to do personal training as a member than it is, like, if you're not. And so there's some advertising, you know, on the website and stuff like that. It's not heavily advertised, you know, and it's considered a premium service, right? Because you have to pay extra for personal training.
Yeah.
So when people come in and have, like, they're like, oh, I'm interested in personal training, I'm not sure what I'm doing, and then the staff, you know, the fitness test staff will say, like, oh, well, maybe personal training would be a good idea for you if you're not sure what you're supposed to do and you want to get this, like, and then a big part of it is meeting with them the first time, right? Like, we do like an hour onboarding, it's called, and I'll go over this stuff with the clients and talk about, you know, strength training, the importance of it, and talk about their situation, like what their limitations are, what their goals are, like all this stuff. And that's a big, like, kind of sales pitch, so to speak, right? Of like saying like, well, this is how it's going to benefit you, like to reach your goals.
Okay.
So that's a big part of it, is like once they're interested in it and then want to do a meeting, and then that's a big like kind of the sales part of it. And then after that, right, is like the retention, like how long do they want to train together. And from my perspective, it's a lot of like, I don't do hard sell on stuff. Like I'm just like, whatever works for you. Because some people will come in and just say like my doctor told me to come in here, right?
Yeah.
I'm coming in here because I've been told I have to do this. And they're not really, they don't want to, right? And they come in and,
I feel like they have to.
right, and you start with them and you'll show them a move and they'll try it like 2 reps and they're like, okay, that's interesting. It's like, no, you have to this has to be part of you now, right? Like you have to want to do this, and we're doing, 3 sets, like we're not doing just 2 reps and be done. Like you have to just jump into this, right? And so it's a matter of having them feel comfortable doing that too, right? So it can go either way, and I tell people don't buy like really big sessions because it might not be for you. Like everybody's not into it. Like you might get in here and be like, I'm not going to start lifting weights. Like no matter what anybody tells me, I'm just not going to lift weights. So some people are in that boat, and wherever you are, right? But again, I think a lot of people, once you bringing them over there and showing them how to do it, they're like, yeah, this isn't as intimidating as I thought. Like I feel good after doing it. So I think a lot of people kind of see the value as you go through it with them, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah. How is your approach to training? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but evolved since you first started. You said it's gotten more easier, but is anything?
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, so when I first started, years ago, like I feel like there's kind of levels of understanding of like the benefits of training, right? Like so when you first start out, you're just like, yeah, just run around, jump around, do some cardio, and that's all you really need, right?
Yeah.
But the research really shows like how beneficial the strength aspect of it is. So my training has kind of shifted more and more towards that strength aspect of it.
Okay.
So again, I kind of started on group fit stuff, and then I did like circuit stuff, which is kind of a mix of cardio and strength, but then that progressive overload is a huge part of strength, right? So there's one of the things, and one of the training things I've done is like kind of the concept of exercise versus training, right? Like you can exercise and you can come and do exercise and you feel, exhausted, or you feel good about like, oh, I did something, right? But if you don't have that progression over time, you're not really training to get better, right? And so that's a big thing that like for strength training, like you have to progressively overload over time. With either the weights or the volume, right? Like somehow it has to increase to get that stimulus for you to grow, have your muscles grow.
Yeah.
And if that's not part of your training, then again, like the personal trainers that don't do that, like aren't really gonna, their clients aren't gonna see progress, right? Like they're just exercising. And again, exercising is great. Like again, like at the base level, like that's level 1, get off the sofa, right? Like just exercise. But again, like if you want to really get the benefits and be efficient about it, like again, like the compound lifts are that you're going to progressively overload over time are probably your best bang for the buck, right? Like for the time you spend, like nobody has infinite amount of time to do all this stuff and doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to come in the gym, like you'd rather do something that's going to progress for the amount of time that you're spending per week versus like I'm just going to come in and throw around some weights and see how it goes. Like I can tell you, it's not going to go up. It's just going to go. Like you're going to feel like, oh, I'm exhausted for doing something, but you're not going to see the progress that you want. So.
Okay. Is there any like trends in the fitness industry that you think are valuable versus those that should just be passed on or that shouldn't be acknowledged?
Sure. Like again, a lot of the like the science-based stuff I like. Like I have a science background, so like I like a lot of the science-based research, and then there's pushback back and forth for all this stuff, right? Like it's not like there's also a lot of benefit and experience. Like the two main groups of people that have done strength training are either power lifters, like Olympic lifters, power lifters, or bodybuilders, right? Those are the two big categories. And so there's a lot to learn from those categories too, not just like the science aspect of it. Because sometimes it's hard to do research, limited groups and stuff like that. It takes a long time to do research. So yeah, there's the trends in it, like, yeah, there can be certain things, and I don't think it's as much science. Like, there can be like marketing trends, right? Like Bosu ball stuff, where it's just like, oh, let's all stand on a Bosu ball, and that's where we're gonna get fit by standing on a Bosu ball or something like that, right? And that's like, yeah, that's not like instability isn't gonna really get you stronger. Like, it's more showing off strength than it is like actually building strength. So things like that aren't really gonna progress. And again, like the fitness influencer like area is kind of a mess, you know, like with what people are doing and what they're selling. Like a lot of this stuff is motivated by money, obviously, like the whole world, right? And so people are trying to sell a lot of like supplements and stuff like that. And I'm kind of conservative on the use of supplement stuff. Like most of that stuff doesn't do anything, you know, like I'm big on protein. Like protein has a lot of research on it. Other than that, like creatine is like has a decent amount of research and shows like, but again, that's like a small percentage, right? Of what that, like your benefits aren't going to come from like taking creatine. Like your benefits are really coming from doing the work in the gym, right? And training well, putting in the effort. So.
Okay. And I also want to ask, has social media had a big impact on fitness or personal training since it's like started to grow a lot more?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, social media is like has an influence on everything, obviously, right? Like, and fitness is no different, right? Like, and that's where like at the Y here, a lot of my clients are older clients. So I don't have a whole lot of really young clients, and so they're not affected as much by the social media trends. Again, it's good and bad, right? Like there's a lot of decent influencers on social media that like do science-based research, not research, but science-based lifting stuff where they have a lot of good information, right? Like I'm not going to throw like all of them under the bus because there's some really great ones. Again, there's some that, you know, like are just like the steroid thing is a huge thing now, right? That's been really pushed from social media where it's like, well, if I'm going to be an influencer, like I need to be on steroids, basically, right? It's kind of people's attitude. And then it's also like comparing to other people where like I like to tell everybody's wherever they are, and that's totally fine, and you're going to work up from where you are, right? Like, and if you're looking at your neighbor, you know, that's more realistic than looking at somebody on social media because they, you know, most people on social media already won the genetic lottery, right? They're already pretty like fit. Just because of their genetics, and then they're likely taking something too that enhances them, right? Like, and there's a lot of downside to that isn't necessarily shown on social media because people don't want to see the downside. They just want to see like, oh, this person looks really good because they're really jacked or whatever, right? And so people will tend towards watching that stuff, right? So I think that's kind of the danger of social media, and then those people are trying to sell you stuff, like the last point, right? It's like, oh, like I have gummies that I can sell you. Well, those gummies aren't. It's a steroid you're taking is what got you the way you look, right? Not the gummies. Like, so those are obviously some issues with social media. And again, just like the idea of like, oh, I have to look like somebody on social media. Like, you're never going to look like somebody on social media because they're like even like movie stars or whatever, right? You're not going to look like Chris Hemsworth no matter how much you work out, like, because he's a different person than you are. So trying to keep those like things in check, right? And people will maybe start working out or whatever, and they're like, oh, after I worked out a month and like I don't look like Chris Hemsworth yet, you know, like what's wrong with me? It's like, well, again, you're not going to look like him, and then like people that look like that, you know, like the classical people that like it takes years, you know, to build that muscle up and stuff like that too. So trying to keep things in check or like expectations in check can be hard with social media.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all the questions I got for you.
Okay.
So I really appreciate the interview.
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
And that was really interesting to hear all you had to say. So,
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with everything.
Yeah. I'll probably see you around here. I come here every once in a while. So.
Yeah, sounds good.